Public company versus private, as I mentioned, both Martin Knock Quinn, who used to own Glendimplex, they are in a private company. You were or had gone private, but you chose to go public again. Why?
Well, we had to. I mean, when private equity comes into your business, you know, there's one thing that they do, as they say, how are we going to get out? I mean, they buy you to sell you, and so therefore, a company of our size, there are limited options for them to exit, and one of the obvious exit routes is going public. And we always knew that in the right circumstances, that the company would either preferably go public again, or it would be sold to someone else, or either re-levered. But obviously, relevering wasn't something that we wanted to do, because we felt in 2007 that we had enough debt and we wanted to de-lever. And that's, in fact, in 2007 there was no money that was taken off the table. We just used it as a deleveraging event, because to many people, and I would say ourselves included, we felt that the world was over-levered, and obviously it came to pass that it was. And we're very fortunate that we did go public, because if we hadn't, we would have had far too much debt to survive.
And one of the problems about being a public company, which I always think about, is that the reporting obligations that you have, in particular in the States, you almost have to report every day. Do you have a separate unit which just reports and reports and again reports?
One of the great disciplines that Smurfit has always had through its history has been its financial literacy. And, you know, in doing so, we have had to ensure that we've had, to meet all requirements, we've always been way ahead of the field in making sure that the company was at the highest standard of financial reporting. And I think that goes without saying, whether you've got Sarbanes-Oxley or the latest thing coming in from the financial regulator here. We're always having to comply, and it's something just part of life. I mean, we have 18 internal auditors in our company, so we are very, very financial in being able to report.
How big is big enough? You have 41,000 people working for you now. You're in 31, 32 countries.
31. Mm-hmm.
What's the next one?
Well, we've always said that we've four uses of our capital. We've either give it back to the shareholders by way of buybacks, dividends, invest in our business, or acquisition.
Or sale. You could sell.
We could sell.
Yeah.
We could sell, of course, yeah. But that's not our intention. Our intention is to grow the business, or return money to our stakeholders. So I think that our ambition is to continue to grow the business. We have a fantastic culture in our business. We have a fantastic people-orientated culture. We are a service business. We happen to make boxes, but we're a service business. And what we try and do is make sure that we continue to transfer our best practice across all of our operations. I mean, we're not perfect, you know, with having so many people in our business. We have our failures too, and that's something we have to deal with. But you know, we have a unique knowledge of our business, and we believe that we can continue to add to that knowledge, and by buying other people's mistakes or improving other people's assets, and that's something that we think we've got a particular good skill set at.
Bigger means more work for you. You don't mind?
No. I mean, work is fun.
A lot of people here have either startup businesses or middle-sized businesses, and possibly look to you and say, I wonder what I'd like to be like him. You possibly didn't have that choice because the company was there.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to the audience in terms of should they go there, and why should they go there if they so choose?
Obviously, you're in business to make money. I mean, so at the end of the day, you're in business to remunerate yourself and your shareholders and your. I mean, so if you want business, if you want the business for a lifestyle, that's one thing. But if you want to actually dream, you can do it. I mean, my grandfather started this business with one small factory in Rathmines, and my father grew the business by being astute. He was lucky or unlucky, as the case may be, in the sense that he got tuberculosis and was in hospital for a long time. I can't remember exactly how long he was in hospital for. And during that time, about a year, and during that time, apparently all he did was read the Financial Times and the financial press, and that taught him a lot. So anyone can do it. But obviously, in today's world, I think it's more difficult because you haven't got banks. I mean, right now, hopefully that's going to change as Ireland starts to improve. But you need access to credit, and that's one of the fundamental things that has to change in this country. Is access to credit has to come back, because if you have the ambition to grow, and it is worth it, and if you have the idea, you do need the credit to get there.
I always ask people this, and I never prep them on it, is because you are flying around the world and you're seeing business opportunities absolutely everywhere. In fact, we discussed burgers yesterday as an opportunity. Have you seen anything that you say, good God, somebody in Ireland should take that and maybe bring it around the world? Because I told you he hasn't been prepped.
No. To be honest, I'm singularly focused on my own business, Conal. Sometimes I'm a bit too inward looking, but I suppose when you're running the company that I run, you have to spend your time concentrating on that company, and you have to be singular in that mindset. I mean, we have many different businesses in our own business, and I tend to try and take my time and develop those businesses. There's one business I mentioned to you last night that we've grown from nothing to quite a sizable business. It's a bag and box business. I mean, some of you may have drunk wine out of a bag and box, but that was a very small business for us in 1995. And for example, we bought the fitment, or the tap. It was doing less than 500,000 taps a year. This year we'll do over 320 million, and we've done nearly 3 billion of these taps, and that's from nothing back in 1995. So we see offshoots of that business that we can develop very significantly in our own business. And so there's a lot of opportunity within our own business.
Which is very interesting, because strictly speaking, yes, it is to do with paper, but you're going off onto a tangent there. Mm-hmm. Worried? Would that worry shareholders? Would that worry the analysts?
No, it's still packaging. It's still packaging, and so we have very many different types of corrugated packaging, and this is just another piece of packaging.
Believe me, when you get into packaging, first of all, he's passionate about it, but secondly, there are so many types of packaging, and we were discussing about the supermarkets, the way that supermarkets are now operating, because they have changed their model. This is the RIP.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that if you look at Aldi and Lidl, they their business mix is to put the package on the floor and help the package sell the product. And in fact, it's been a huge shift in our business, is that years ago you would have brown boxes with one color black printing on it. Now 40% of our business is white with printing and glossy, and that helps sell the product. I mean, we are part of the marketing tool for our customers right now.
You have sales, roughly speaking, what, €7 million at the moment?
A bit more.
Sorry,
a billion.
Not million, billion, exactly. Actually, interestingly, it was in 1986 was when you made the first major move, when Smurfit made the first major move into the States with container board.
That was our biggest one. The first move was in 1979 with Alton Box Board, and then there was a couple more deals that were done in 1982 with Jimmy Goldsmith, a famous entrepreneur. We bought Diamond International off him. That was a very, very big move. But then the big move was in 1986, as you said, where we and a company called Morgan Stanley Leveraged Equity Fund 1, because it became a Leveraged Equity Fund 2, bought a company with $20 million that was for $1 billion. And that really was a big move for Smurfit in those days, Jefferson Smurfit Group, and it was highly successful because it was bought at the right time. It was an extremely successful move.
Your company is, as we have discussed, multinational already. For the guys here who have, I'm sure, ambitions to go multinational, that's the big step for them. It's bread and butter for you. Explain to them how it feels, where you land in Colombia, you land in Venezuela, you land in Mexico, you land in Germany, you have plants literally everywhere. You are the multinational. You take the giant steps that they worry about.
I think the only message that I would say is have excellent people. I mean, your life is so much easier if you have excellent people working with you. And so, if you're going to become a multinational, or you're going to, make sure you have the right people on the ground. And if you don't get rid of them quickly and get the right people, because it's all about people, making sure that you have the right organization and people to make your life easier. Because at the end of the day, you know, everything from the guy who's running the waste baler all the way through the organization, it's about having the right motivation to make sure that that guy puts the waste in the baler at the right time and all the way through the system. So being a multinational is no different to running your own business here locally. Is you've got to make sure that you have the right people in the right slots and who are dedicated and passionate.
And you also retain those people, because I think, again, you told me last night that you have lost only 2 people out of your top 150 that you didn't want to lose. Obviously, other people move on, or maybe they pass on. But 2 people, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I say, one of the things that I'm most proud of is the passion that our people have for the business, the style that's in the business, and the culture.
Have you brought that style yourself? Is that Tony Smurfit, or is that Michael Smurfit, or is that somebody else?
I think it's a mixture of everybody. I mean, I think a company's culture evolves, and I think that, you know, of course, you know, we were a buy other people's mistakes company. When we merged with Kappa, we had to become, we did become much more build on our successes. And one of the things that I think all of us in senior management are very proud of is the culture that we have in the company. And it's not just my culture, it's all of our team's culture.
Another downside to being a multinational, in particular into South America, is when you land in Colombia. Going back in the years, in the late 80s, 1990s, I was a stockbroker, and I know that we discussed, because Smurfit had opened plants in Colombia, and at that stage Colombia was not a happy country, and our discussion across the stockbroking table was about the security of the Smurfit family. And even now, there are security issues when you land in some of these countries.
Sure.
And people mind you when you land. Now, when you're doing business, you think you get up in the morning, you open the door, and you sell. You're not thinking that somebody...
I'm much more scared in North Dublin sometimes than... of course, you know, there's risk to everything, Conal. Like, you know, I think in certain countries, there's one particular country, I won't name it, but, you know, I wouldn't go there because I'd be afraid that the people protecting me would be the kidnappers. I think there is risk, and you just try and mitigate that risk as best you can.